Welcome back, everyone. You know what's funny? I've been practicing medicine for years, and one of the questions I get asked most often, not in a clinical consult, not in a research paper, not in grand rounds, but at dinner tables, at family gatherings, from patients walking out the door, is this: Doc, what should I have for breakfast? It sounds simple. It sounds almost embarrassingly simple, but I'll tell you, when I actually started digging into the biology of what happens in your body during those first few hours of the morning, I realized the answer is anything but simple. What you choose to eat when you first wake up, and I mean that first meal you break your overnight fast with, it's not just calories, it's a biological signal, a message to your metabolism, your immune system, your gut microbiome, your cardiovascular system, even the health of your eyes. All of it responds to what lands on your plate first thing in the morning. And here's the thing. Most of us are making choices based on habits we inherited from our parents. From cereal box advertisements from the 80s, from nutritional guidelines that were frankly built on research that, well, wasn't telling the whole truth. So today, I want to decode breakfast. Scientifically, practically. No fads, no extremes, just real biology, explained in a way that I hope actually makes you want to change something the next time you open your kitchen cabinet. All right, let's start at the very beginning. The word breakfast, break, fast. You're literally breaking a fast. And most people hear that and think, yeah, I know, I haven't eaten since dinner. But I want you to think about what's actually happening inside your body during that overnight window, because this is where it gets genuinely fascinating. When you eat a meal, your pancreas releases insulin, and insulin is essentially the key that unlocks your cells to let glucose in. It's a storage signal. Think of it like pulling into a gas station with the engine off. You're filling up the tank, storing fuel, not burning it. Your body is in what I'd call fuel storage mode. Now, as hours pass after your last meal, insulin levels drop. And once insulin comes down far enough, your body's chemistry completely changes. You flip into what I'd describe as high-performance fuel-burning mode. Fat, including the visceral fat sitting around your organs, starts getting mobilized and burned as fuel. Growth hormone levels increase. Cellular repair processes kick in. This is quite literally your body doing housework while the lights are low. And here's what I find remarkable. Research published in scientific reports actually demonstrated that when animals were subjected to breakfast skipping, meaning their feeding was delayed in the morning, their lipid metabolism genes were thrown completely out of rhythm. Their livers started overproducing fat. Their visceral fat accumulated significantly, even without any change in total calorie intake. The timing of that first meal matters at the genetic level. So when I talk about breaking your fast, I'm talking about the moment you decide to hit pause on this elegant metabolic defense process. And the question becomes, are you pausing it strategically, or are you just reaching for the nearest box of cereal because you're half awake? Here's a simple, low-effort strategy that I genuinely think is one of the most underrated health recommendations I give to patients. Wait 1 hour after you wake up before eating your first meal. That's it. You're already sleeping 7 or 8 hours. Let's say you finish dinner at 8 p.m. and you go to bed by 11 p.m. That's 3 hours post-dinner. You sleep 8 hours. You wake up at 7 a.m. If you just take an hour to shower, get dressed, maybe take a short walk, have your black coffee, I'll come back to the coffee in a bit, you arrive at 8 a.m. with 12 hours of fasting complete. 12 hours, half your day, spent in that optimal, fat-burning, metabolically clean state. You didn't skip breakfast. You just waited 1 hour. Research from the Annual Review of Nutrition on adipose tissue metabolism confirms this. During fasting, the breakdown of stored fat is actively upregulated through hormonal signals like glucagon and catecholamines, while insulin-driven fat storage is suppressed. The mechanisms are real. The biology is there. You just have to give it time to work. So that's rule number 1. Wait an hour. Now let's talk about what to actually eat when you do eat. Oatmeal. Almost everyone agrees it's healthy. Most people will tell you it's good because of the fiber. And yes, the fiber is real and it matters. But I want to go deeper, because oats have a pair of bioactive compounds that I genuinely think are underappreciated. And when I learned about them properly, I sort of looked at my morning bowl differently. The first one you probably know: beta-glucan. It's a type of soluble fiber. Here's what it actually does. It forms a thick gel in your digestive tract, which slows down glucose absorption, blunts the insulin spike after eating, and critically, acts as a prebiotic. It feeds the beneficial bacteria in your gut. A major double-blind randomized clinical trial published in the Journal of Nutrition demonstrated that consuming just 3 grams of high molecular weight beta-glucan per day for 4 weeks reduced LDL cholesterol by approximately 6% and cardiovascular disease risk by around 8% in adults with elevated cholesterol levels. That's meaningful. Not in a supplement pill, in food. But the compound I really want to talk about is one called avenanthramide. Say that 3 times fast. Avenanthramide. It's a polyphenol found almost exclusively in oats. It has potent anti-inflammatory properties. We're talking about a compound that activates antioxidant pathways and suppresses inflammatory signaling molecules. Now, in laboratory research on oat extracts, something extraordinary was observed. Scientists found that avenanthramide-containing extracts didn't just reduce inflammation, they appeared to stimulate stem cells and more than double the rate of wound healing in biopsy models. And here's the detail that genuinely stunned me. The wounds that healed with oat extract treatment, they healed scarlessly. That's a regenerative property we don't see in a lot of dietary compounds. So oats, properly consumed, are hitting your gut microbiome with prebiotic beta-glucan, reducing cholesterol, managing blood sugar, and showing anti-inflammatory, potentially regenerative properties via avenanthramide. This is not a boring bowl of porridge. This is a genuine health tool. But, and this is a big but, not all oatmeal is equal, not even close. The degree of processing completely changes how much of this biological benefit you actually receive. Steel-cut oats are at the top. These are whole oat kernels that have been toasted and then simply chopped with a steel blade. Minimal processing, maximum nutrient integrity. The beta-glucan molecules are intact. The avenanthramide is preserved. The fiber architecture is complete. The glycemic response is significantly lower than other varieties. Yes, they take longer to cook, but here's a simple hack. Prepare them the night before. Put them in a slow cooker on low overnight. Wake up, your breakfast is ready. Doesn't get more low effort than that. Rolled oats are the middle ground. The whole oat kernel has been steamed and then pressed flat to reduce cooking time. They're still a solid whole food choice. You're getting good fiber, decent nutrient content, a creamier texture many people prefer. A perfectly reasonable daily option. Instant oats, I'd avoid them, and here's why it goes beyond just they're more processed. Instant oats are ultra-processed flakes that are pre-cooked, dried, and often packaged with added sugars, artificial flavorings, and preservatives. The glycemic impact is substantially higher. But the concern I want to highlight specifically is the packaging itself. Many individual instant oatmeal packets are lined with materials that can shed microplastics into your hot meal when boiling water is added. You're adding hot liquid to a plastic-lined pouch. That's a problem. Microplastics have been found in human blood, lymph nodes, and now cardiac tissue in recent studies. This is an evolving area of research, but the precautionary principle strongly suggests avoid it. So, steel-cut or rolled oats at home, prepared yourself. Okay, I want to talk about eggs, and I want to begin with a brief history lesson, because honestly, the story of how eggs got demonized is one of the more instructive examples of how nutritional science can go catastrophically wrong when researchers don't control for confounders. Back in the 1970s, there was a wave of research linking dietary cholesterol to heart disease risk, and eggs, being high in cholesterol, were placed squarely in the crosshairs. Don't eat eggs. Two-egg omelets are a cardiovascular emergency. We've all heard it. The problem? The researchers were essentially looking at people who ate bacon, butter, fried sausages, and eggs every morning, and then blaming the eggs for the heart disease. You know the analogy. It's like watching someone smoke, drink heavily, and never exercise, then concluding they got sick because they wore blue sneakers. The blue sneakers were there, sure, but they weren't the variable that mattered. Modern, well-controlled research has substantially rehabilitated the egg. Meta-analyses and prospective cohort studies now show that for most healthy adults, dietary cholesterol from eggs does not meaningfully raise LDL, the bad cholesterol, in a way that increases cardiovascular risk. In fact, eggs have been shown to increase HDL, the good cholesterol. A recent headline from the University of South Australia in 2025 made the rounds. Eggs are finally being vindicated. It's the bacon that's the real heart risk. Yes, that headline actually happened. Science corrects itself. Slowly, but it does. But here's what I really want to talk about, because I think even the people who know eggs are okay for cholesterol are missing the bigger picture about why eggs are a genuinely remarkable breakfast food. Eggs are one of the richest dietary sources of lutein and zeaxanthin. These are carotenoid compounds that act as biological filters. They literally absorb high-energy blue light and protect against oxidative damage, particularly in the retina of the eye. Let me explain why this matters. As we age, one of the most common and devastating causes of vision loss is something called age-related macular degeneration, AMD. Specifically, the wet form involves abnormal blood vessel growth in the retina, a process called angiogenesis, where new blood vessels form, leak fluid, and essentially waterlog the delicate neural tissue of the macula. The central vision deteriorates. People lose the ability to read, drive, recognize faces. Lutein and zeaxanthin from eggs are specifically absorbed and concentrated in the macula, the part of the retina responsible for your sharpest, most detailed central vision. They act as a kind of biological shield. They help regulate the angiogenesis process. They reduce the oxidative damage that contributes to AMD progression. Clinical research, including the EXIT trial published in the British Journal of Nutrition, showed that egg supplementation significantly increased serum carotenoid levels. Broader nutritional studies have shown that consuming just one egg a day can raise blood lutein levels by approximately 26% and zeaxanthin levels by approximately 38% in older adults. For a single food consumed once a day, that is a meaningful biological impact. My recommendation: choose pasture-raised eggs when possible. Hens raised on pasture, with access to insects and diverse plant material, produce eggs with significantly higher lutein, zeaxanthin, and omega-3 fatty acid content compared to conventionally raised eggs. The difference is real and it's measurable. Yes, they cost a bit more. But given what we're talking about, long-term protection of your vision and cardiovascular health, that premium is, in my view, entirely justified. I want to address something that I see every single week in patients who are genuinely trying to make healthy choices. They reach for the low-fat yogurt. They see 0% fat and they think, perfect, that's the healthy one. I want to kindly but firmly tell you, stop. Here's what happens when food manufacturers remove fat from yogurt. Fat is what gives yogurt its rich, satisfying texture, what food scientists call mouthfeel. When you strip out the fat, the product becomes thin, watery, and unappealing. Nobody buys watery yogurt. So manufacturers fix it. How? They add emulsifiers and thickeners. Common ones include polysorbate 80, carboxymethylcellulose, and carrageenan. These additives are what hold that fat-free yogurt together, give it the texture you expect, and make it shelf-stable. Here's the biological problem. Research has shown that these emulsifiers, specifically polysorbate 80 and carboxymethylcellulose, interact with the mucus layer of the gut, and in doing so, they allow bacteria that should be kept at a safe distance from the gut lining to get closer. The result is chronic low-grade gut inflammation. More specifically, these compounds have been shown to profoundly harm key beneficial bacterial strains. Two of the most important are Akkermansia muciniphila and bifidobacteria. Think of these as foundational architects of your gut ecosystem. Akkermansia specifically maintains the integrity of your gut lining. It's a keystone species. When it's depleted, the gut barrier weakens, inflammation increases, and you see downstream effects not just on digestion, but on mood, immune function, and metabolic health through what we call the gut-brain axis. So, you picked the low-fat option to improve your health, and instead, you've essentially compromised your gut microbiome. The road to metabolic inflammation is paved with fat-free yogurt. The solution is simple: whole-fat plain Greek yogurt. Full fat. No emulsifiers, no added sugars, no fruit on the bottom preservative nightmare. Just yogurt. And while we're here, let me give you what I think of as the gold standard morning yogurt build. Start with plain whole Greek yogurt. This gives you probiotics, protein, calcium, and healthy fats without the additives. Add fresh berries, blueberries, raspberries, blackberries. These are loaded with anthocyanins, powerful antioxidants that reduce oxidative stress, support vascular health, and have emerging evidence for neuroprotection. Use fresh or frozen then thawed. Avoid the pre-packaged fruit on the bottom versions. Those are ultra-processed sugar bombs masquerading as health food. Add crushed walnuts or pistachios, healthy fats, fiber, polyphenols, and in the case of walnuts, one of the better plant-based sources of omega-3 fatty acids. And now, the honey hack, specifically buckwheat honey. I want to be precise here because the type of honey matters. Research from the University of Illinois found that the antioxidants in buckwheat honey are actually absorbed into the bloodstream. They measurably raise blood antioxidant capacity by approximately 7%. That doesn't sound like a huge number, but consider, most antioxidant foods have their compounds partially degraded in digestion. The fact that buckwheat honey's compounds survive gut transit and enter systemic circulation is genuinely notable. Buckwheat honey is darker, more robust, slightly molasses-like in flavor. A small drizzle over your yogurt bowl. I know this is the part some of you have been dreading. We need to talk about bacon. I love bacon. I'll be honest, the smell of bacon it's a powerful olfactory experience. I understand the appeal. But my job is to give you the biology, and the biology on this one is not comfortable. The World Health Organization's International Agency for Research on Cancer, which reviewed over 800 studies, classified processed meat, including bacon, as a Group 1 carcinogen. This means there is sufficient convincing evidence in humans that it causes cancer, specifically colorectal cancer. Now, and I want to be careful here because this distinction matters. Group 1 means the strength of the evidence that it causes cancer, not necessarily the magnitude of the risk. Tobacco is also Group 1. Asbestos is Group 1. That doesn't mean 2 slices of bacon are equivalent to a pack of cigarettes. They're not. The absolute risk numbers are very different. But here's the specific data point I want you to sit with. Consuming just 50 grams of processed meat per day, that's approximately 2 slices of bacon, is associated with an 18% increased relative risk of colorectal cancer. This is from a dose-response analysis across multiple large prospective studies, including the EPIC cohort study across Europe with hundreds of thousands of participants. 18% increased relative risk from 2 strips of bacon daily. Beyond the cancer risk, there are other mechanisms at play in bacon specifically that I want to mention. First, salt. Bacon is extraordinarily high in sodium, and high-salt diets have been shown to impair the function of endothelial progenitor cells, stem cells in the bone marrow that are responsible for repairing the lining of your blood vessels. Think of your blood vessels like a pipe that develops microcracks and wear over time. These stem cells are supposed to exit the bone marrow, like worker bees leaving the hive, and patch those cracks. When you chronically expose your system to high salt, these cells become sluggish. They don't mobilize effectively. The wear and tear on your circulation goes unaddressed. Second, cooking compounds. When you fry bacon at high heat, you generate a trio of problematic chemical byproducts: advanced glycation end products, AGs, heterocyclic amines, HCAs, and polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, PAHs. All three are inflammatory. HCAs and PAHs specifically are carcinogenic. The darker and crispier your bacon, the higher the concentration of these compounds. So what do you do if you love bacon and you're not ready to give it up? Here's my practical recommendation for harm reduction. 1. Cook bacon to a lighter color, not crispy dark. Seriously, the browning and charring is where the HCAs concentrate. 2. Cook it in extra virgin olive oil, EVOO. This is a non-obvious one, but it's meaningful. EVOO is rich in polyphenols, particularly oleocanthal and hydroxytyrosol, that have demonstrated anti-proliferative, anti-inflammatory, and anti-cancer properties. Research suggests these polyphenols can actually neutralize some of the carcinogenic compounds generated during the cooking of processed meat. They essentially compete for the same oxidative chemistry pathways. A drizzle of EVOO in the pan before your bacon goes in. Small change, real biology. 3. Think of bacon as an occasional treat, a weekly indulgence, not a daily staple. Not because of puritanical food restriction, but because the dose truly does make the poison here. Okay, I've been waiting to talk about this one, and I suspect this might be the thing that makes some of you genuinely adjust your morning routine more than anything else I've said today. Coffee, real well-made coffee, is, I'll just say it, one of the most bioactively remarkable beverages humans consume. The list of health associations in the literature is almost absurd in its breadth. Reduced risk of type 2 diabetes, Parkinson's disease, several liver conditions, improved gut microbiome diversity, and meaningful effects on cellular aging via a compound called chlorogenic acid. Chlorogenic acid is a polyphenol, a plant-derived antioxidant. It's the key active ingredient behind much of coffee's health benefit. It's anti-inflammatory. It has metabolic effects. It supports the gut microbiome. It's been studied for its role in slowing aspects of cellular aging. Here's the problem. When you add dairy milk or cream to your coffee, something happens chemically that most people have no idea about. The fat in dairy, even in low-fat milk, interacts with the chlorogenic acid molecules and forms what are called micelles. These are tiny lipid-based structures, essentially microscopic fat bubbles that encapsulate the chlorogenic acid. Once chlorogenic acid is trapped inside a micelle, your digestive system can't absorb it normally. Instead of entering your bloodstream and getting to work on your cells, it gets carried through and excreted. Research published in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry confirmed this. Subjects who consumed coffee with milk excreted significantly less urinary chlorogenic acid metabolites than those who drank coffee black, indicating substantially lower bioavailability. One study found that combining coffee with whole milk reduce the recovery of chlorogenic acid metabolites by roughly 40 to 50% compared to coffee alone. So you're drinking your morning coffee for its health benefits, adding a splash of milk, and you've just cut roughly half those benefits out. The solution is simple. Drink your coffee black. If you really can't do black coffee, and I get it, palates vary, consider plant-based alternatives. Oat milk, soy milk, almond milk. These do not form micelles with chlorogenic acid in the same way dairy fat does. They don't carry the same protein polyphenol binding interactions. The science supports that plant-based milks are a meaningfully better choice than dairy if you need to add something to your coffee. And yes, I have seen one mouse study suggesting that certain milk fat globule membrane components combined with chlorogenic acid might have some interesting brain aging effects. The science on that interaction is genuinely complex and early stage. But for the average person asking, what should I put in my morning coffee? The practical answer remains: black if you can, plant-based if you need, dairy fat if you want to reduce absorption of what you're drinking coffee for in the first place.
Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and join the journey.
All right, let's bring it home. I want to be clear about something. I'm not telling you to follow a perfect diet. I'm not asking you to become a different person by next Tuesday. That's not how sustainable health behavior change works. And frankly, it's not what the science demands. What I am asking is this. Think about one thing you do in the morning right now that you could improve based on what we've talked about today. Just one. Maybe it's switching from instant oats to rolled or steel-cut oats. Maybe it's waiting an extra hour before that first meal. Maybe it's swapping the low-fat yogurt for whole-fat plain Greek yogurt. Maybe it's trying your coffee black for a week. These are not deprivations, these are upgrades, backed by real biology. The quick summary. Thumbs up, steel-cut or rolled oatmeal. Pasture-raised eggs. Whole-fat plain Greek yogurt with berries, walnuts, and a touch of buckwheat honey. Black coffee or coffee with plant-based milk. Thumbs down. Instant oats in plastic-lined packets. Bacon as a daily staple. Low-fat dairy with emulsifiers. Coffee loaded with dairy cream. And the single biggest meta strategy: respect your body's overnight fast. Give it the time it needs to finish its work before you interrupt it with food. Even 1 extra hour can shift the metabolic picture in your favor. Your breakfast isn't just filling a void. It's either working with your biology or working against it. And now you have the information to choose. If this helped you think differently about your morning, share it with someone you care about. And I'll see you next time.